For 72 years, the Odyssey was a ghost. The last transmissions from the ship had been little more than static and a single, panicked voice repeating a phrase no one could explain: "It's not empty." After that, the vessel vanished beyond the rim of charted space, into a region so remote even the most intrepid survey fleets never returned. But in the early hours of Cycle 9093, long-range observatories on Titan's dark side picked up an anomaly. A gravitational signature bloomed like a sudden wound in spacetime, and the Odyssey emerged as if it had never been gone at all. It drifted into orbit over Saturn, silent and intact. Captain Rhys Sato stood at the edge of the retrieval bay observation deck aboard the Carthage, his breath fogging the reinforced glass. Below him, the salvage crews in hazard suits circled the Odyssey's hull. Its exterior was as familiar as it was unsettling, titanium alloy pitted by micro-impacts and stained with decades of interstellar dust. But there was something wrong about the sheen of the plating, as though it were no longer fully metallic, but something else. Something alive. "Any response to hails?" he asked quietly. Lieutenant Leora Brandt shook her head, her face pale. "No, sir. No comms, no beacon, no automated docking handshake." Sato nodded. He had expected as much. He'd read the transcripts from the original mission. Odyssey had been tasked with deep-range xenological surveys, mapping star clusters, cataloging anomalies. No weapons, no high-threat contingencies. No one ever anticipated it would disappear. And certainly no one imagined it would come back transformed. "Deploy the boarding team," he said. "Full isolation protocols. If it's carrying a pathogen." Brandt swallowed. "Yes, sir." The first to cross the threshold was Commander Nico Elamine, suited head to toe in ablative armor. The Odyssey's main airlock cycled open with a mechanical groan that echoed through the docking umbilical. For a moment, Elamine hesitated, taking in the darkness beyond. His helmet lights pierced the corridor, illuminating walls covered in a slick, glassy residue that crawled in fractal veins across every surface. But no movement. No heat signatures. "Boarding party Alpha," he reported. "We're inside." "Copy," Sato's voice crackled. "Proceed to the bridge." They advanced slowly, the silence oppressive. The interior of the Odyssey had always been functional, sterile, standard Navy architecture. But here, everything felt reorganized. Bulkheads twisted in subtle, impossible curves. Passageways no longer aligned to the ship's original schematics. As they passed through the crew quarters, Elamine caught glimpses of strange patterns etched into the walls, spiraling glyphs that pulsed under their lights like bioluminescence. His HUD tried and failed to translate them. "Sir," said Specialist Varga, her voice thin, "I'm reading power signatures that don't conform to any known reactor profile." "Define," Elamine ordered. "It's like the entire ship is metabolizing energy. No reactors online, but something's powering these systems." They moved on, reaching the main bridge. The blast doors were partly fused shut, warped by forces no one could name. With a burst from the plasma cutters, they forced an opening and stepped inside. The command deck was unrecognizable. Where consoles and chairs had once been, a sprawling lattice of crystalline structures now protruded from the deck plates. They glittered with an internal light that shifted in color and shape, almost like an organism thinking in slow motion. Embedded in the largest of these crystalline growths was what remained of Captain Yara Quinn. Or rather, a sculpture of her body perfectly preserved in translucent material, eyes open, mouth frozen in the moment she'd spoken her last words. Elamine felt his stomach twist. "It's not empty." He lifted his helmet and knelt by the crystalline pedestal. His gauntlet brushed the surface. A shiver ran up his arm, as if the material were vibrating to an inaudible frequency. "Command," he whispered into the comm, "the crew, they didn't die. They've been assimilated." Sato's voice was quiet, ragged. "Assimilated by what?" "I don't know," Elamine replied. "But it didn't just take them, it changed them." On the observation deck, Sato stared at the frozen image from Elamine's helmet feed. Even through the horror, he couldn't look away from the patterns etched across Captain Quinn's preserved face. The ship was no longer a vessel. It was a chrysalis. "Lieutenant Brandt," he said finally, "get xenobiology on this. See if any of those symbols match known cultures." But before Brandt could respond, a new alert flared across every console. The Odyssey's engines, dead for 72 years, came online in a single blinding pulse. A corona of impossible energies shimmered along the hull, bending local gravity and triggering a dozen cascading alarms. "Power surge!" Brandt shouted. "They're spooling some kind of FTL." A low resonance filled the docking bay, vibrating the deck plates under their boots. The salvage clamps locking the Odyssey in place melted into slag. "Cut the umbilical!" Sato yelled. But it was too late. The Odyssey lifted itself free with eerie grace. The docking tether collapsed, trailing cables like severed nerves. In one smooth motion, the ship pivoted away from the Carthage, orienting toward the black gulf beyond Saturn. And then it spoke. The signal wasn't broadcast over radio. It arrived directly in the minds of everyone within range, words shaped of thought itself. "We are not what you remember. We have become more." The ship's hull folded in on itself, shimmering in geometries that broke the laws of physics. In a blink, the Odyssey vanished, leaving behind only a vacuum plume and a silence deeper than before. Long after the boarding party was recovered, after quarantine and debriefing, Sato found himself replaying the last transmission again.